Good morning, everyone. This is the Vermont House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. It is Tuesday, April 21st, 2026 at 9:02 in the morning. So we're here to begin our week with S327, which is an activating to economic development. So we have the Director of Workforce Development at the Department of Labor, Jay Ramsey with us. Good morning, Jay.
Morning.
I think, I know Abby sent some language around and yeah, you've seen it. I'm not sure. Do we have a draft from Rick yet?
I just got one this morning.
No. Oh, maybe we can talk about it and I think we'll probably see the language this afternoon.
In your related documents folder, there is a draft 2.1 from the 15th that incorporates the language that we provided to Rick.
Okay.
I think I can share my screen. I could put it up and we could walk through it if that's
Yeah, that'd be great.
do this. Okay. Okay, so I have my screen up here. This is page 7 of 17. So what the department is proposing here is sort of in addition to the study that's in a different area of this bill is we want to use registered apprenticeship as an additional path to explore a solution for culinary training. So I'll just read through this. So the creation and purpose and coordination that the Department of Labor through the Registered Apprenticeship Program shall establish and maintain a 2-year hospitality and culinary apprenticeship pilot that develops and evaluates a new registered apprenticeship training program specific to accommodation and food services. The pilot shall be structured as a regional multi-employer model with the goal of the program to strengthen workforce pathways and improve job quality in the hospitality and culinary services, which have been identified as priority sectors by the State Workforce Development Board. The department shall coordinate its work on the pilot with the Department of Tourism and Marketing, the Department of Economic Development, the Office of Workforce Strategy and Development, and Vermont Chamber of Commerce. And then we get into some of the structural details of the pilot. The department shall implement the pilot in a tourism-based regional economy and include multiple employers, including at least one large employer located within the same regional economy.
Jay,
Sure.
and Abby's not here today, but she sent a suggestion to us that we delete tourism based because she seems that it's limiting the possibilities of the department.
Okay. I don't think we have a problem with that. What I'll just explain a little bit what the theory of action here is that we will have an application process for communities, chambers of commerce, whatever the kind of intermediate organizations would be, and to say we're looking for a resort town, a resort economy, to say the resort is a larger employer, and then there are smaller restaurants in the town that supports the resort. So apprentices could rotate through experiences within the resort and within the local restaurant community. So that's just sort of the overarching structure that we're trying to explore. So that language, removing tourism base, doesn't change what we would try to do.
Yeah, I'm wondering if do we change it to resort based or do we Not sure. Abby really didn't have,
She didn't make any suggestions.
she didn't have any suggested language there, but
I think if we switch it to resort-based, then it removes the possibility that a larger economy like in Chittenden County could come up with something.
yeah,
So I think tourism-based, removing tourism-based would be fine. It's still, we can still accomplish the goal that we're setting out to do.
just call it a regional economy.
I think that would work fine.
I also might push back. Tourism is our largest. It's our largest economic driver in the state, and I think it's gonna be pretty hard to find. This, too many folks who are in this field, in the hospitality field. That don't have some connection to tourism. And so I'm not sure that that's bad to have the word there. I understand that. I mean, even if you're catering, you're catering events for tourists occasionally too, right? It's
I think part of her argument was that some of the kind of cooking, culinary, some of that stuff is in institutions.
Yeah.
And so that may, you know, either educational institutions or correctional institutions or, you know, a variety of settings. I think she just wanted to leave that as a possible opening,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with eliminating the pilot to tourist based at this point.
Yeah,
Well, I think that recognizing that would expand who could participate in the pilot, and it's a little bit more expansive in that approach. We're certainly not trying to limit who could participate, but understand the way that's worded might communicate something we don't intend. I guess I would maybe also say we're putting this in this bill in 2 years. A different structured committee, a different legislature will come back and ask us, and so we just want to make sure we're clear. And I think if we can all agree, maybe there's somewhere else that we say this is based in the tourism economy, but we interpret who could be a participating employer to be fairly broad, especially if we're trying to get people experience working in kitchens, whatever kind of kitchen that is.
is hospitality more broad than tourism?
well, also, I think another point that we've been talking about too with this is just there is kind of a farm and manufactured side to the food business through our specialties food circuit. And Vermont's food economy writ large is pretty broad. So I think the question I've had is that do we want to make this kind of a smaller focused pilot for the pilot period with the intention of broadening it out?
Yes.
Okay. And does it make sense to put that in the intent language at this point?
I mean, I think it's fine to have the narrower pilot, because I know there's also the piece in there for the study. And I think the study isn't very broad,
Yeah,
but, you know, that would then bring in the universe of other possibilities, but it makes sense to me. If you're gonna have a pilot, you want something, you have to define limits, otherwise how can you measure its success?
right.
Mhm.
It's not very.
I think that makes sense.
So Edie's idea of changing tourism to hospitality based, does it broaden it? Or does it give us the same meaning without calling out tourism?
I think hospitality based probably is a little bit more clear about who we're trying to serve and what we're trying to do in this.
Yeah, because, we're trying to get to businesses that just don't serve tourism, but serves the local economy and serves the locals as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I think, is everyone in agreement? We'll change that to hospitality?
Mhm.
Okay. So Rick, just so you know, and we'll get, when we get to it, we'll let you know, it's gonna change tourism to hospitality. I know. Okay,
I will proceed. So in the department shall incorporate an intermediary or coordinating entity. This is just saying the department will be participating in the work, but we expect some other type of entity to be cultivating those local relationships, working on the agreements with employers, that there's some organization there in whatever community is selected that's helping to lead this effort, that we include structured work-based learning across more than one employer, that we're aligning with education and training providers, including secondary and adult CTE programs, that the department shall be structured to rely on existing resources, including the physical assets of schools, technical centers, and restaurants, and that this be built around not more than 2 apprenticeable occupations, as that term is defined in statute already. And just to give examples of what those occupations are, it's defined by the federal government, but baker, bartender, chef, and head cooks, institutional cooks, restaurant cooks, food service managers, and waiters and waitresses are in the food and beverage portion. So those would be the occupations that we're trying to target. That again, the department shall establish specific numeric targets and track outcomes, including completion, retention, and wage progression. The pilot shall be designed to achieve at a minimum participation of multiple employers, enrollment of at least 1 apprentice cohort, and measurable completion outcomes. Regarding funding, the department shall implement the pilot using existing state and federal funds to the extent practicable, and may seek additional grants or funding as such funds become available. That you're requiring a report. The department shall, based on its work on this hospitality and culinary apprenticeship pilot set forth in this section, submit to the House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development and the Senate Committee on Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs on or before December 15th, 2026, an interim report on the progress of the pilot program that includes how it was designed, who's participating, and some preliminary results. And then on or before December 15th, 2028, 2 years later, a final written report on the pilot program, including outcomes, evaluation of effectiveness, and recommendations for future legislative action. And I think that's the end of the section.
good. Questions for Jay? Everybody good with the language? Just make that one change to hospitality.
Were we gonna add the chamber in? It's a partnership in this. or is that-
No, that's in the,
it's the other-
that's in the study. I don't know, yeah, we have to talk about that. Okay, great. There's no questions, Jay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all.
You want to take a look at the study? We have Rick with us. Rick, how much time do you have?
I'm here for you guys.
Okay. Maybe why don't you come up and we'll take a look at the.
It's Actually, you sent me one. Is that the same Zoom link?
No, that's for the afternoon.
Okay. You want to look at maybe up there first.
Yeah. I think Abby and Kirk have made some changes that were set.
Yeah, Rick's got.
Did you have time to incorporate those? Rick?
Changes, yes, changes that were sent on the culinary institute study.
Study.
Yes. Yep, so I have that ready. Actually, just got it back from editing, so I will. John, I'll send that to you at some point here. Zoom link. Good morning, Rick Sagal with the Office of Legislative Counsel. Ready here. So. We are going to look at, this is now going to be draft 3.2 of S 327. Times here. How's everyone as we wait for my Zoom?
It's just started a weekend for you. Great.
Thank you.
Wonderful after full time.
No one ever asked. I'm doing well.
Thank you.
All right, so we have, all right. So I'm doing the walkthrough 327 afternoon, correct, today?
Yeah.
So
After lunch.
it's
Yeah.
it's a bigger bill, and I'll explain at that point. We've had some renumbering of sections and other things, but for now, let's look at the section now 10A, which is the culinary and hospitality education study with reports. So I'm going to read through the whole thing. Yellow indicates new changes, but there were several updates of language, and I want to make sure that we're on the same page as to what is going on here. So the purpose and findings is relatively the same, but discussing how Vermont lost a significant contributor to its culinary and hospitality workforce pipeline. I think I don't have it with me. The earlier version was a bit more too many words. I think this is just to the point that you lost some workforce pipeline when the New England Culinary Institute closed during the COVID-19 pandemic. The General Assembly finds that the establishment of post-secondary educational programs in the fields of culinary arts and hospitality is critical for the long-term workforce needs in those sectors and for the economic health of the state. That was also restructured a little bit. So this is more about the study has turned into more of a not just specific to a culinary institute. That was the previous language. This is now, what are the opportunities to have these programs maybe plural, not just one location. Maybe there's different ways of having these culinary arts and hospitality opportunities be available in the state. If that makes sense. The Department of Labor, it was previously the Office of Workforce Strategy and Development, so changed to that to labor in consultation with the chamber. That's also new.
Yeah.
We changed consultation to collaboration.
Or do you want coordination or do you want collaboration?
I think we want it stronger.
Right.
Coordination or collaboration. Either way, everybody.
All of a sudden, disclaimer, they're not a state entity, right?
Right.
So if they don't want to
Yeah.
collaborate, they don't have to.
Right.
So they shall engage with the stakeholders later in the section to determine how best to develop post-secondary educational programs in the fields of culinary arts and hospitality by. So these are mostly new or restructured. One, investigating suitable locations that could host the programs. Researching and identifying possible educational and business models. I think that might need to be further explained a little bit. To me, it's not maybe clear enough what that, and I'm not the one doing the study, but maybe it's clear. I think maybe more language could be used there. But okay, number 3, identifying organizations that could stand up and administer the programs. Determining to what extent the General Assembly is needed to help fund and establish the programs. Gauging the interest from private investors to determine whether there is interest in private funding for the programs.
Dave?
Can we back up to read second, please? Do we need more than one organization to administer the program, or do we need them to operate the program? Don't we want just one administrator, so to speak, who's, maybe, as we said earlier, collaboration maybe, but
So I think we need to add more than just the chamber. I think we should be thinking about BTSU
Oh, yeah.
and maybe, maybe BACTED or we're talking about CTEs too.
But I think Dave's right. We're
Yeah.
not looking for administrators,
Right.
we're
No,
looking for operators.
Yeah.
I think that's,
So I think the administrator could be BTSU or could, but I think you're right, we want someone to operate the program.
And it seemed, I think some of the issue was also might be a number of different programs. Like we might have
Sure.
CTE, we might have some, but are we imagining that would come from still like a centralized location?
Well, it could,
And
it could come
that's
from DOL,
right,
right?
and that's been also some of the conversation that Abby, Kirk and I had was that we've sort of lost a centralized, because we don't have like a restaurant association anymore, we don't have like a kind of a centralized place for food-based businesses to come get the like technical assistance and educational assistance and workforce help that they need. So I think to Dave's point, I don't know if that means we're working towards kind of a more something that's sort of beyond just like a culinary institute, but also
So would it be stand up, administer and operate the
operate.
programs?
Yeah,
Those organizations, government entities as well.
Could be.
Okay,
So you want to word it something like identify organizations that could stand up, administer, and operate. Something like that.
that could sound, Dave, work for you?
sorry.
If we say stand up, administer and operate,
And operate, yeah.
Dangerous going live here. We're doing edit.
Yeah.
Live.
does it,
you're doing great.
so does that mean that they identified 5 organizations that those 5 have to stand up, administer and operate the program? Is
To me, that's how that reads.
that what we want? Or, well, maybe,
Or would be, I mean, if you say or, then you kind of separate
but
the
then
two
they
things.
could, so in that just scenario, it could be they do all 3, or it could be they do standing the program up, somebody else administers, somebody else may operate it. So. Okay, yeah,
So number 4 I read, but just reiterating, to what extent the General Assembly is needed to help fund and establish the programs. 5, gauging the interest from private investors to determine whether there is interest in private funding for the programs.
I don't know that 4 really should be there. I think that in the end, should be, the report comes back and then gives us, then provides consideration for legislative language if needed, whatever term we use, but people agree with that?
Yeah, no worries.
So we'll strike 4. Okay, any comment on number 4, the private investors?
I think that's fine.
Okay, number 5, establishing relationships with hospitality businesses in Vermont that have or will have workforce needs. We don't have culinary there. You could add culinary if you want, since this is a culinary and hospitality study.
I think we probably should add both terms.
Just to make sure it's included.
Moving on, 6, conducting any additional research or outreach that would promote the development of the programs. This is kind of the catch-all, maybe that can be worded better, but that's giving them latitude to further research if they think something else we didn't include would be helpful. 7, cataloging, and maybe 6 and 7 should be rearranged. 7, cataloging any culinary and hospitality opportunities available now, including certificates and training options.
Does the word any need to be there?
What word?
Any? I don't mean to wordsmith, but we're wordsmithing.
Yeah. It's your bill, so I think it's appropriate without the word any. That should be okay. No, you don't need to. Probably so. To make a suggestion,
Oh, that, we change, available now to currently available.
I think that sounds better, but whatever you all think.
Rowan, do we currently already have the Department of Labor already cataloged what opportunities are out there? I think we're talking about workforce opportunities.
Sort of, from our considered Department of Labor. I think it's not an official catalog, I would say. I think the departments are just probably have an idea of what's available, CTE. But there's nothing official. The one Office of Workforce Training and Development, I believe, in cataloging a lot of different programs available. I believe Advanced Vermont, has some, but we have a national policy. In the future, that will be the case.
I just don't want them to do something that's already done. They could call in Advanced Vermont. Okay.
With the items in the catalog limited to training options like certificates and other programs, or is that narrowly defined, or are we looking at? I'm wondering, that's a very broad remit and one that might look different in one month of the year than another month of the year. And I'm just trying to be clear, what I'm really hoping is we're not talking about is like vacancies.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about opportunities currently available, what are we talking about? What are the opportunities that we're talking about? Are they?
Training.
but it says including, so
Yeah.
it's pretty expansive, but
You say
And
career,
then also, but also is it funding? And technical assistance?
But we're
we're
talking
talking
about,
about
we're talking about training, learning, right? We're
Yeah.
talking about developing a system for building that learning opportunity. And so I think that's opportunities is about how people learn these jobs, which is, so I think perhaps training goes there. The including is never in a finite list, so it's ideas. But I think you're right, opportunities is not clear on its own.
Yeah, if someone is,
well, if you pull including out, put four.
But I do think some of the challenge is also that really quickly, especially in the food world, the pipeline can go from education to ownership, or education to business really quickly. And so those educational opportunities are like literally like hands-on technical, like let's work recipes, but also all of the auxiliary kind of management stuff that can come up incredibly quickly.
this is, a thought was, one of the, hotels in Manchester, the Taconic is part of the Kimpton sort of brand. So you're having a particular kind of training if you were working there. It's sort of within their, and I'm thinking about the places that are willing to, almost all of them, to train potential employees. And so I guess maybe what I'm trying to get or thinking through is there an implication of institutional training? Or is it any employer that would impart skill building to an employee, which would be most, some more formalized than others. And that's, I'm hoping just that as the people are doing the work, that they're not feeling an obligation to include every position in the field where someone would be trained if they would take that job. That's maybe, and that's where I'm wondering if maybe I need to grow. But
Well, I think we want it broad because we're talking about, so in culinary, we're looking for what's currently available for certificates and training. Because we're looking to, can we broaden that? The same thing for hospitality, and it doesn't limit it to just cooking. It can be for, how do you run a restaurant? Wait staff, bartending, all of, same with hospitality. That it could be, how do you run a motel? And everything that comes below that. So I think we want to understand what's out there currently, and then what do we need to build? What more do we need to build? Because I think that's what we're looking for in creating a new institute, right? And
yeah, okay, right, how it responds to the needs, so that's what it
Right.
is, okay.
so we're looking at the needs of the businesses, the culinary and hospitality. What are the opportunities right now that are available right now for certificates and training? And then we want to build on that.
So to build on it, was what struck me, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And I can't see the rest of the list here, but I'm not sure that the list 1 to 7 necessarily includes that. How to build recommendations for building on additional opportunities.
Well, maybe we put that in.
And we also, I don't know.
Or
if we
in,
did-
yeah,
Sorry, I don't know if we've explicitly put out also that we want to tie it to the apprenticeship conversation.
No, I think we want this kind of standalone.
Okay.
I think the apprenticeship itself will, as the reports come in, will help with this report that comes in. So I think that complements this study.
That would be one of the things that's identified as appropriate.
Sure. Yep, yep.
Yeah,
Do you want to add something to Better Bolton? Question, was there?
Have an idea, Herb, or?
I can't see, where does that whole list start?
So it's you don't have this document yet,
Right.
so
No, so-
it's gonna be at the bottom of page.
Yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, no, so I think it would be best
6.
maybe as a, subdivision 8 or something.
Mhm.
And something to the effect of, I can't remember. Any other recommendations to
Identifying,
additional opportunities,
yeah,
additional.
yeah, or some. Or holes in training and holes in the certificate training programs, something to that effect.
For once, I'm at a loss for words.
I'm
It's still
stunned.
early.
Everyone remember this month.
Gaps. We're looking for gaps
Yeah.
and.
I will think about it some and I'll maybe have a suggestion for you, might come back this afternoon.
Okay,
All right.
good. Sounds good.
And then the other, I know Cameron's here, updating the stakeholders, you removed the Office of Workforce Strategy Development from doing the study, so putting them back in as a stakeholder, removing labor as a stakeholder because they are conducting the study. Adding in a few, Vermont Specialty Foods Association, the Vermont Lodging Association. In that last one, I don't know if we need to be specific.
You have farm to school or farm to plate?
I think we hit them with the Vermont Sustainable Jobs Fund because they run Farm to Plate, or it's housed within them.
Okay.
Yeah, that last one on line 18, I don't know if we need to be specific about that or let labor choose who that institutional. I don't know what that means also, but I'm not in the business.
I think
so.
we're trying to think about like corrections with larger institutional,
Who the hospitals use and
yeah,
universities.
right, like a Cisco
Oh, big,
or a.
Like catering
yeah,
type of large scale.
Large scale.
Large scale.
Industrial,
Yeah.
like, commissary kitchen style.
If that's clear what that means, then it's fine. I didn't know. The report, nothing changes except the Department of Labor is now doing the report. And kind of rewording the recommendations concerning the development of post-secondary educational programs for culinary arts and hospitality. So.
Back to the point about the programs and trainings available. Did you come to a conclusion that that captured enough of the kind of informal training that happens?
I think
It does.
So I think it's all training, so
Sorry, I just,
it may be hard to find it, but once somebody comes out.
yeah, I think that's gonna be a lot of footwork talking to restaurants and stuff,
But yeah, that's, where the chamber comes in.
right? And then like even from us, like the various stakeholders.
Yeah.
Engaging people.
So,
You scroll down.
Question, that post-secondary education programs, is it? Is that pretty clearly limited? Is there any adult education now that's in culinary stuff? And not necessarily again.
well, I think that's where the pilot program's going.
Yes. It's a generation. All right, I was just thinking of like those institutes, those four and element from the state, if they have any element, and would that be classified as post-secondary? And maybe that's the question I'm asking.
Yeah, I think that's the adult CTE.
Adult CTE is post-secondary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else for this section?
Be okay.
I like that phrase. I think that works really well.
Phrase. Which phrase do you like?
Development of post-secondary education. Makes sense. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Thank you, Rick.
Yeah, I'll see you later this afternoon.
Great. Cameron. Well, Rowan, the department's okay with what we're developing here? The department's okay in taking this on?
You never have the same ones.
So that's just the changes out.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate that. Go from food to pennies.
Delicious.
Pennies,
I have to make pennies in order to.
bring on the
I'm
puns
gonna gather the pennies.
and the jokes.
Morning.
Good morning.
For the record, Cameron Wood, Office of Legislative Counsel. I have a new version of. This is 837.
327.
837 going into 327, but this is just a standalone few documents for this
Gotcha.
piece of legislation that we've been looking at. So just to walk you through here. That zoomed in enough? Good. Okay. So we have a few changes. We got to go all the way down to page 2. Primarily, we talked last time about the notice and whether you all want to include the specific language regarding the notice should go into statute for what these businesses need to provide to the customer if they're going to be rounding cash transactions. And so just a few things. There was just a little slight change in how this word was phrased. So it's a person or business rounding transactions under this section shall post and the following written disclosure in a clear and conspicuous manner at the point of sale or at the entrance to the business. We put the entrance to the business, I think it was on the receipt. You all wanted to remove that because that could potentially be after the transaction has occurred. So we have at the point of sale or at the entrance to the business. And then here is the notice itself that I took an effort into trying drafting up something that you all could react to. So Vermont law authorizes the rounding of cash transactions. A person or business engaged in a cash transaction may round the final amount due to the nearest nickel. If the final digit of the amount due is 1 or 2, 6 or 7, the final amount due may be rounded down. So just kind of incorporating the specifics of how the rounding would actually work. The last sentence there would be, this does not impact electronic or other non-cash payments. For information or complaints, you may contact the Vermont Consumer Assistance Program.
Should we include the link for the cat program?
You can,
At least
their phone number, for example, you could, there's no, I was a little hesitant to put them. You may want to hear from the AG's office of whether they're comfortable with that. There's no obligation for them to provide information, but just understanding that they've already received some inquiries from, the public about this and assuming that would be the most logical place for someone to go if they had a concern about some sort of, rounding transaction, it really is a consumer protection measure. And so to me, it made the most logical sense to go there. Be happy to put their phone number. That would probably be the best thing, or we could put their most general URL if that made sense. So up to you, could add that in. The one thing I will comment is, I didn't put in here any specifics of the dimensions of what the sign needs to look like. You've seen that in some other notices where you say it has to be on 8 and 11 inch, with this type of font size. I didn't get the impression that you were wanting to go that granular with this. We can. So if that's why
Clear and conspicuous, is that a term of art that agencies and departments understand? Because this will be, I think DLL has said that they would be happy to house this on their webpage. So what they would probably do with this is come up with something that's in a PDF, that's a standard that you, as a business, you can get on their webpage and you can download that and print it.
Right.
Right.
So clear and conspicuous is the typical language that's used in the consumer protection space, where for the AG, the FTC, et cetera, they require notices be, in a clear, conspicuous manner. It's really going to be, fact dependent on the circumstances. But that is the kind of standard language that's used in the consumer protection space. Mr. Chair, you remind me though, that was discussed last time. I did not put in here a requirement that liquor and lottery create a template form, but I could do that if that would be helpful. And then at that point, you do have kind of a standard form that, businesses could go to and get. So I can add that in. Okay. So it'll be this language unless you all want some changes there, and I will add in that DLL needs to come up with
I mean, I've seen them, they're not as large as that, so it'll talk about Vermont law. But then it'll talk about, 1 and 2 round down, 3, 4 round up, 6, 7 round down, 7, 8 round, or 8, 9, whatever, 8, 9 round up. And then they'll talk about the rest of it.
I think phone number would be sufficient myself, but I think it would be helpful to have a phone number.
I think you could put a phone number, and they could also include a QR code.
Especially if it's standard notice or something,
Okay, so we'll add DLL in there. Next piece here is sub 2. The Secretary of Agriculture, Food and Markets may issue a penalty for the failure to provide the notice required into this subsection in accordance with 6 VSA 687. So there was kind of discussion about the fact that agriculture does the weights and measures, and they go into these locations and they make sure that the pricing at the point of sale matches the pricing that's been displayed in the store. And so there was discussion about if the sign isn't being posted, then it should be appropriate for the Secretary of Agriculture and the Weights and Measures team that's going in and doing that pricing.
But it's only for stores that are around.
Yes, sir. So if the store's not rounding, they wouldn't be required to post a sign. Correct. And so what this section, this subdivision here just says the secretary may issue a penalty for the failure to provide the notice required. So the notice wouldn't be required if the business isn't rounding. In accordance with 6 VSA 687, you may be asking what 6 VSA 687 is. So this is in the chapter under the agriculture title related to unit pricing. Currently, the statutory section is a person who violates this chapter shall be fined not more than $500. My understanding is there is a miscellaneous agriculture bill that is making its way through the body. I believe it passed the House and is in the Senate that would amend this section. So I'm just making sure you're fully aware of this. And this is the as passed by House version. And it removes the specific reference to $500. And it would just say that a retail establishment violates this chapter is subject to the penalties and provisions of sections 15, 16, and 17. It references back to the general penalty provisions that the Secretary of Agriculture has in that title, which says they can issue penalties. I think it's like up to $5,000. And then it actually has a requirement for, a business to request a hearing and go through that. So I just want you to be aware that currently it's just a $500 penalty, but there is a proposal to change that to this reference to more broader penalty authority for the agency. So. Okay, and then the last 2 changes are just, we discussed in this subdivision F. Subsection F, it just said taxes, and then, there's a question about should fees be included there for reference. So we've made that technical change to clean that up, and then effective on passage as opposed to July.
Can you remind me what are the fees? What fees are we talking about?
Just any fees. Any fees that you would be charging on a transaction have to be attributed to the pre-rounding amount or the post-rounding amount.
Credit card fee?
Could be. It shouldn't be in this sense, because if you're using an electronic payment, then you wouldn't round the transaction. The section specifically says this is only related to cash. But it was referenced above.
Okay.
Was referenced above. Maybe it's been removed, but
Yeah, there was a reference to taxes and fees.
Oh, okay,
That's why we added it.
okay.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it is, but
Yeah, take a look and see if fees are still there, then I think we can add that. If it's not, then we can take the fees out.
Yeah, I just didn't know what we were talking about.
Any questions for Cameron? Everybody good with those changes and
it is in the definitions.
Yeah.
It says rounding means adjusting the final total amount due after taxes and fees.
Okay,
And so we just made that consistent throughout the section as far as what fees businesses are charging. Another question for others, but.
Okay.
Okay, so adding in the kind of template form for Department of Liquor and Lottery. I'll add that in and then make sure Rick has an updated copy to go into Bridge.
so add the phone number to Kat and.
Yeah, add the phone number.
Okay. Yeah, if you could send that to Rick and look at it again. So he can-
First.
Okay. So committee. Down floor. Caucus's lunch. It's back here at one. Continue working on 327. I'm thinking that we're probably almost there. We may be able to move that this afternoon. At 3 o'clock or 3:30. For three, we'll look at 173. Hopefully that's the final version. Also, we'll have Sophie with us. Maybe we can move these two and get them out of the way. And get them, especially 327 on its way. And, there's the CTE day. Hopefully by Thursday, we have that in place where we can move that as well. So, any questions? Okay,